everybody, and welcome back to another episode of From BA to Broadway. It is Wednesday, which means we are bringing you in the spotlight. Boom! Folks, as always, your general programming reminders. Every Monday we are here with the main episode. Every Wednesday we are here with the mini-sodes. And without further ado, I am obviously not here alone. Today I am, of course, joined by Mr. Daniel J. Solly. Danny, what's going on?
What's up? How are we doing today?
Doing just so good, thank you. This is my first night of full sleep in a long time, and I am my body's very confused. It's very confused.
I haven't had a full sleep in quite a while.
Danny, what show are we talking about today?
Phone rings, door chimes, in comes company, baby.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
I feel like this is gonna be a long one.
I've been threatening you with another Sondheim show for weeks, and I finally
It is no threat. It is no threat.
Do you know Company?
I do know Company, yes.
Did you see it?
I did see it.
Amazing. I love it.
I saw the revival on the Broadway.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So obviously you know music and lyrics by the great Stephen Sondheim.
Indeed.
Book by George Firth.
Oh, you know what? First of all, before we get into it, I think we should first just say that obviously yesterday there was a huge upset in the community with the passing of Mr. Gavin Creel, just such a visionary in our industry and just such a source of light, and just rest in peace to Mr. Gavin, and thoughts and prayers to his family and friends out there, because this one's really shaking up this world that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
100%. I was actually going to talk about him today, too.
Oh, my God.
Because I was like, we never got a Gavin Creel Bobby.
Yeah.
You know? Like, when I was just, like, thinking about the show and reading the cast, I was like, he would have been a bitchin' Bobby.
Absolutely.
But rest in peace,
sir.
A absolute fucking legend.
Yeah. We should do one of his, like, really titular shows. We should do in the next couple of weeks.
An iconic Gavin Creel show.
Okay.
There's so many.
Yeah.
Just, like, read his Wikipedia page. It, like...
True.
Like, the list is, like...
Very much.
Insane.
Yeah.
I'm sure if we look back on the shows we've already done, he's probably been in half of them.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true.
We should do, like, an iconic show of his.
We'll do a little tribute.
Yeah.
Anywho, Company.
So Company is actually, the way that it started was that George Firth, the playwright, originally wrote the story to be performed as 11 one-act plays.
Oh, wow.
But then Stephen Sondheim and Hal Prince read it and thought that it could be a good basis for a musical about New York marriages with a central character to examine each one. It's kind of like the quintessential concept of a concept musical, where there's not really a linear structure, and is instead told through a series of vignettes that are kind of out of time and place. And so the musical follows Robert, our titular character. Well, not the titular character, because the musical's not called Robert.
It's just called Robert.
Our main character.
Robert, the musical.
Our main character, Robert, on his 35th birthday. He is a well-liked single man living in New York City whose friends are mainly married or engaged couples. And the show follows a series of these disconnected vignettes as Bobby either visits with one of his couple friends or is alone on a date with one of his girlfriends, and it kind of examines the different dynamics in a relationship and what it means to him to be in a relationship and why he is not in a relationship and why he hasn't settled down yet. And that's kind of the recurring theme throughout the show.
Yeah.
And so vignette musicals are weird to give a synopsis of. So I'm just going to say the couples and kind of what they represent for him. And those are kind of all of our characters. So the couples are Sarah, who is a foodie who is dieting, and her husband, Harry, who is a recovering alcoholic. We have Peter and Susan, who seem to be the perfect couple, but on a night out with Bobby, they reveal that they are about to get a divorce. We have uptight Jenny and laid-back David, who hang out with Robert and smoke pot with him. We have the three women that he is currently casually dating, Marta, April, and Kathy. And with each of these three women, he kind of explores the different appealing aspects of them and the why he can't settle down with them. We meet Amy and Paul on the day of their wedding. Amy has a case of cold feet, and she sings the famous song, Getting Married Today. She calls off her wedding, and then Robert convinces her that she should get married, and so she runs off with Paul. And the last couple we meet is Joanne and Larry. Joanne is kind of the iconic character meant for the diva aging actress. So obviously one of my faves. Joanne and Robert
be great in it
and
someday.
Larry. Oh, don't. Don't promise me things like
Oh
that.
my God.
And so their scene takes place in a nightclub while Joanne and Robert watch Larry dancing. And Joanne blames Robert for always being on the outside of life rather than on the inside. And she sings the infamous song, The Ladies Who Lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And that eventually devolves into Robert ruminating in all of these tropes and the dangers he perceives in commitment, but finds an increasing urgency to find love and intimacy, and eventually sings the song Being Alive. And that's kind of how the show ends, with him blowing out the candles of his birthday, ruminating on all the things that he's learned and decided.
Yeah.
And that is Company in a nutshell.
Sure is.
It's for our baddies, our tenor baddies with commitment issues.
Baddies. Oh my God.
Our tenor boys with commitment issues.
Oh my God.
We all know a Bobby.
In this industry, unheard of.
We all know a Bobby. We've all been a Bobby.
Bobby's a berry tenor. Give him that.
I guess.
On paper, he is.
Yeah.
Hashtag justice for baritones.
Well, we'll talk about the revivals, and we'll talk about how Bobby is not, it's a mezzo soprano now. So
yeah.
Moot point. So our original Broadway production was directed by the legendary Hal Prince and opened on April 26th of 1970. The original cast starred Dean Jones as Bobby and Elaine Stritch as Joanne, as well as the infamous Donna McKechnie, Pamela Myers, Barbara Barry, etc., etc. And something really interesting about this production is that only a month into the run of the show, Dean Jones was struggling with personal issues and left the show. And then he was quickly replaced by Larry Kurt, who was the original Tony in West Side Story. Fun fact.
Wow.
And Kurt got such rave reviews that the Tony Committee actually allowed him to be nominated for Best Actor in a Musical.
Wow.
Which is against all the rules, because normally you have to play the part on opening night of the show to be in the running for a Tony Award.
As long as you're popular and pretty, it doesn't matter, though.
You said it, not me. And they actually made a documentary of the making of the original cast recording. Have you seen it?
I don't think so. I think I've seen clips at some point in time, but I don't think I've ever watched the whole thing front to back.
Highly recommend. First of all, it's fascinating. It's so interesting, especially in that time period, to see how such an classic Broadway cast... I mean, the Company original Broadway cast recording is such a classic staple recording in musical theater history. And you get to watch Stephen Sondheim sitting in the sound booth watching Elaine Stritch record The Ladies Who Lunch, which is just such a huge part of history. It's crazy they got that on film. And it's also hysterical because Elaine Stritch is low-key insane. So she is like screaming. She's screaming. She's like, I can't get the notes. And Sondheim's like, Elaine, one more time. And they keep trying to like lower the keys for her to make it easier. And she's like, no, the note's up here.
Is there a parody of this documentary with John Mulaney for Co-op? I have watched that.
You've watched that one.
In its entirety.
Where I have not watched that. I've heard amazing things. I have always meant to watch it.
Yeah. I don't even know what it's called, but I have watched that entire thing.
Oh, Documentary Now?
Documentary Now, yep.
It's him and like all that SNL crew.
Yeah, Richard
They
Kind.
parodied that documentary of like making this cast recording. And so I would recommend watching the original.
Maybe I haven't seen the original.
You probably haven't.
Maybe
You've probably seen the John Mulaney one.
It might have only been that.
But we should watch the original because it's fascinating. And it's cool to see the way that cast recordings were made back then, because it's very different. They're not in booths. They're all standing next to each other singing with the live orchestra. And there's, I don't know, I love the sound of the old cast recordings. Not much better than the new ones today, but there's something...
It was a different time.
It's a different time. And you get imperfections that you don't get today because of digital stuffs that I think is that I love. I love that part where you can like hear the full orchestra. You can hear people echoing and like maybe not being perfectly on the pitch, like for the, every note, because it's not digitally altered. So I highly recommend giving that a watch. And you get to see the whole original cast like assembled, which you don't normally get from shows that are from the 70s.
What is it called?
I think it's just called The Company Cast Recording Documentary.
Oh, okay, great.
Or that's what I would recommend looking up.
Okay, great. You heard it here first, folks.
And so then, many years later, actually, we have our first Broadway revival, which was for the Roundabout Theater Company, directed by Scott Ellis, choreographed by Rob Marshall, in October of 1995, and it only ran for 68 performances. And this revival has fascinated me because the cast is incredible, and it's a completely forgotten revival. Boyd Gaines played Bobby, and Deborah Monk played Joanne. Also in the cast were LaShawns, Charlotte Dembois, Jane Krakowski, Danny Burstein, Van Cox, Kate Burton, a.k.a. Ellis Gray for all my Grey's Anatomy fans out there. It was nominated for Best Revival. It didn't win, and it kind of just came and went. And I don't know much about it. I didn't know if it was like a very strictly limited run, but there are some really interesting bootlegs of that production on YouTube. And I think they really leaned into the dance elements of the show, which is really interesting because you don't normally get that in a Sondheim.
Yeah.
And, like Charlotte Dembois is dancing for her life. I think they turned the TikTok number into like a huge solo dance piece for her.
Interesting.
And I think it normally is a dance piece. I mean, Donna McKechnie originated, but it was interesting. It's a really interesting revival. I think Boyd Gaines is a wonderful performer.
Yeah.
There's a recording of his being alive, and it's fantastic. And I never...
That feels like, conceptually, like you say that as a dance piece, and I'm like, no, that feels like it would work. Like,
yeah, and
with
there's
the structure of everything.
The color scheme and like all of the elements of that production are really interesting to me, but there's only like a couple bootlegs, and it's just kind of this revival that came and went.
Yeah.
I don't even know if there's a cast recording of it.
That feels like something that people maybe thought was too precious to kind of change in that way, because I can't imagine that not at least being a good show.
I don't know if sometimes the roundabout shows are very limited runs, but I couldn't find too much about it.
Interesting.
In my musings, but fascinating, right? And what a cast. Like LaShawns, Danny Burstein, Jane Krakowski. I think she was April, the flight attendant. Next up, we have the second Broadway revival, which is a much better known one. That opened at the Ethel Barrymore Theater in November of 2006, directed by John Doyle. And this one starred Raul Esparza as Bobby and Barbara Walsh as Joanne. In true John Doyle fashion, this was a completely pared down production, like basically no set. It was actor-musician, so all the actors played the instruments and doubled as the pit. The production won Best Revival, and this 100%, million% should have been Raul Esparza's Tony Award for Best Leading Actor. He was robbed. I think it is one of the biggest travesties in Tony history that Raul Esparza, a.k.a., Rafael Barba from Law & Order SVU for All of Our Parents.
Oh my God.
Did not win.
All of our parents.
For all of our parents.
For all of our Dannies.
For your mom and my dad and me, who love SVU. Agent Barba, Raul Esparza, Broadway legend, goes, watch. This is a really wonderful production, and he is so good. He is, for me, the definitive Bobby. Even just watch his Tony performance. His Tony performance of Being Alive is absolutely insane. I don't love every single element of this production. It's very different, and the orchestrations are very different.
Yeah.
And the instrumentation is a little bit different because they're all playing instruments. And I think sometimes that gets clunky, and sometimes, it's clearly not the original intent of the musical to have them be acting musicians. In the way that we talked about, like when you see Once, it's very clear that this show was written for all the actors to also play musicians, to also be the musicians. When I watched this one, I think I'm watching a really brilliant concept of a musical.
Gotcha.
But I do think it's a really brilliant concept, and I think the cast is incredible. And to watch a cast of actors also be the musicians for a Sondheim score, it takes a really kind of superhuman performer
for sure
to do that. And they're all memorized. Like, not only to just play the score, but to have the score memorized, and to be hopping on and off your instrument, to play your instrument, do your scene, hop back on. The trio of You Could Drive a Person Crazy, all those do-do-do-dos, they're quickly playing their instruments and then singing, and then playing their instruments and then go back to singing. So it's kind of a feat, I think.
And honestly, once again, in terms of a concept for this show, that also feels like something that makes sense and would fit really well with it.
And they filmed this one professionally, so you can go watch it. It's incredible. It's all over YouTube too. Have you seen it? Have you watched clips of it?
I have not.
Oh my God. Look.
I'm looking.
We're about to talk about Patti LuPone in the next revival.
Of course.
But And, Patty in the show was a cultural reset. We all agree.
Mm-hmm.
Barbara Walsh's Ladies Who Lunch is, might be my favorite.
Oh my God. I just heard a glass smash miles away.
She's coming. I know she's coming. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Patty. I'm sorry.
Oh my God. Quick. You got to get out of here.
There is something that is so... You know Patty's version, right?
Yes.
And, that is camp.
Mm-hmm.
Barbara Walsh's version of this song is so, what's the word I'm looking for?
Good.
Chilling.
Oh.
It's chilling. It's, chilling, and she plays a very, sardonic, cold, and calculated Joanne.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this, right at the end where she's singing, everybody rise, rise. They cut the music out, so there's no music button, and she's singing those rises a cappella.
Interesting.
And it is a really go watch Barbara Walsh do it. It is a chilling performance of that song.
Damn.
She really, really took that character and made it her own thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the highlights of that production. And yeah, I think that was a really solid, well-known production. I mean, it won Best Revival. Raul was nominated. I think Barbara was nominated too. And we got our, John Doyle loves a concept.
Yeah.
And I love John Doyle.
Yeah. I love a concept when it's appropriate.
Yeah. And I think this one was.
I agree.
And so then this leads us to the 2021 Broadway revival of Company, directed by Marianne Elliott. And I know we don't talk about the West End on this podcast.
I don't know why you say that like I'm opposed to it. I am completely fine with that.
You expressly forbid me.
Hey, knock it off. Don't.
I know. I'm sorry.
I've never.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I've never forbid you from doing it. No, absolutely not.
You forbid me from a lot of things.
Listen, I love the UK. You know that. I've never been, but as a concept, big fan.
So this production was a transfer from the West End, where Marianne Elliott gender swapped a lot of the characters. So the biggest one, obviously, Bobby is now a woman. And the three parts that were originally the girlfriends are now boyfriends, named Andy, PJ, and Theo. And additionally, they made the original couple, Amy and Paul, into a same-sex couple, with Amy now being a man named Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
And so the revival opened, they kind of had the false start and stop hiatus because of COVID thing.
Yeah.
But then they officially opened in November of 2021, which was 11 days before Sondheim died. He got to see it right before he died. And
yeah,
I wanted to read a quote by him, because something he was famous for was reinventions of his work.
Yeah.
He is down for a concept. He was so willing. For every Broadway revival of a Sondheim show is radically different, and you get to see radically different directors and their takes on his shows. And the reason is because he was down for it.
Yeah,
because he could have easily stopped it. I know the Rodgers and Hammerstein estate are very lock and key with those shows. They do not allow reinventions. The Oklahoma revival was legendary because they were allowed to do something different with it.
Yeah.
And Sondheim says, he expressed how theater is distinguished from film and video because you can do it in different ways from generation to generation. What keeps theater alive is the chance always to do it differently, with not only fresh casts, but fresh viewpoints. It's not just a matter of changing pronouns, but attitudes.
Yeah.
And I think, it's a good business strategy because that's why your shows get done everywhere all the time. But also,
king. Absolutely.
But also what a refreshing artistic attitude to have. Because it's
Also, quite frankly, from a member of an older generation.
Yeah. Well, he was 90 when he was probably in his late 80s when the concept was coming around. And there's a funny story where Marianne Elliott, I think, was having a lot of trouble casting the part of Amy when she was directing the original West End, and she couldn't find a woman to play Amy. And she was friends with Jonathan Bailey, who famous, is blowing up everywhere these days, about to be Fiyero in the Wicked movie. He's wonderful. And she said, I want to do something absolutely crazy. Can you just come in and read these scenes and as a man? And so he did. And so she emailed Sondheim being hey, I hope you're sitting down. And she said, I hope you're sitting down and I hope you have a glass of wine because I'm going to suggest something absolutely crazy. what if we made Amy a man?
Mm-hmm.
And then he responded saying, I hope you're sitting down with a glass of wine because I think that's a brilliant idea. Just like, he's down for it. Obviously, the show was written in 1970.
Yeah.
We're doing a revival, 50 years later?
Mm-hmm.
Let's change some things.
For sure.
Like, why? And I've always thought that too. Why are we going to do the show again if we're not going to do something with it? Like, do something different with it. And so the Broadway cast featured Katrina Lenk as Bobby, obviously Patti LuPone as Joanne, Matt Doyle as Jamie, Itai Benson as Paul, Jennifer Samard, Christopher Sieber, Nikki Renee Daniels, Christopher Fitzgerald, Claiborne Elder, Bobby Thornton, Greg Hildreth. Like, I know I've talked to you about my concept of blue-collar Broadway.
Yes.
This was the cast. This is the cast where me and my friend, guest of the pod, Sarah Hogwood, coined the term blue-collar Broadway.
Wow.
This was a cast of the best people in the industry.
Yeah.
And every single person, they're not household names per se, but they have been working on Broadway for the past X amount of years.
Yeah.
Just have like a litany of Broadway credits under their belt, and they are just the best of the best at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why I think this revival was just like so knocked out of the park.
100%.
Because a company is a truly, truly ensemble piece.
Yeah.
And they just got the best of the best.
That's
the
100%
best at what
right.
they do. Patty and Matt Doyle both won Tony Awards for their performances. Jennifer Samard was nommed as well. Jennifer Samard's performance as Sarah. You saw her? Did you see her do it?
I think so. I think the only person I didn't see was Chris Fitzgerald.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I think he's whoever I did see was wonderful.
Oh yeah, probably Jeff Creedy, the understudy.
Probably. Unprompted, no, off the top of your head, incredible.
Not written down. I just know.
I know.
But Jennifer Samard, she was like a knockout of this production in particular.
Mm-hmm.
She took the character of Sarah and just like recreated it completely of her own, brand of comedy that she does.
Mm-hmm.
I think, look, Patti LuPone was going to win the Tony. She was going to win the Tony from the second that it was announced she was playing this role. She won the Olivier because she did it on the West End too. Just like iconic performer, iconic part. She sang The Ladies Who Lunch on a Broadway stage. She was going to win.
Of course.
I think in any other season, if Patty wasn't a contender, Jennifer Samard would have had it in the bag. She was just phenomenal. And me and my friend, now that I outed her, Sarah, we really imprinted on this production. We saw it like 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
And in talking about Patti LuPone and Jennifer Samard, like Patti LuPone is a legend and like a brilliant, brilliant actress. And every single time you see Patti LuPone in a show, it's wildly different.
Yeah.
Like she is a performer who is in the moment using her surroundings. And, I saw her do this show 3 times, and every single time that she played Joanne, it was wildly different. The scene was different because she is in the moment responding to what is around her.
Yeah.
And that is a certain form of brilliance.
For sure.
Jennifer Samard is, I think, the other form of brilliant where she's a technician. And the way that she played her scene, it was a scene with a lot of physical comedy and a lot of really specific jokes. And she is a technician. She landed the joke the exact same way every time, and it wasn't stale once.
Mm-hmm.
She was able to spin the joke and have it land precisely the way that she does 8 times a week.
Yeah.
And it never felt like she had done it before.
Mm-hmm.
But because I had seen her do it several times before, I was like, I know that you're going to say the joke this way.
Yeah.
And it's hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
It's hysterical every time. And I just thought it was so interesting to watch, like, those two in particular have such different styles of, I think, maintaining a show and doing it 8 times a week. It was so interesting to watch them do it. And I was so glad that I got to see the show so many times.
Got to see the show so many times.
Had to see the show so many times. Was legally contracted to see the show so many times.
100%.
I'm going to tell you the story of the first time we saw the show. So me and Sarah bought tickets to see the show for my birthday. And I think we splurged like a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was right in their preview, because it was in December. So it was right in their preview period too. Okay. Like right in the beginning. Like we were ready to lose our Patti LuPone virginities. We had never seen her live.
Mm-hmm.
We are both, MT, FAGs. Sarah wore a red dress. You know the significance of that. To honor Patty's red dress performance.
But of course.
We get there, and Patty is out. Patty is out that night, which is like legendary because Patty does not miss performances.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of like regrouping in the lobby for a sec because we're like, what do we do?
Because your life was just ruined.
Well, her name's above the title. We could get a refund.
That's true.
And you know what? I get it. Respect understudies, but also we're poor. We splurge on a ticket to see Patti LuPone.
Yeah.
So we were like, what should we do? Should we stay? Should we go? And all of a sudden, we see this man and two little kids run into the theater wearing like jeans and t-shirts. He runs up to the box office and he's like, do you have any tickets left for tonight? My wife is on. And we looked at each other and we're like, we're fucking seeing the show.
Yeah.
Like we are seeing,
that's amazing.
And it was Patty's, obviously her understudy. Her name is Anisha Nagarajan, went on. And they were in previews. Clearly, she had never been rehearsed. They probably threw her in a costume and just threw her on stage.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. She was incredible. And you can tell that the whole cast, the entire cast, was just surrounding her and supporting her. And they were catching her and guiding her around.
Oh.
And in the middle of the show, one of the elevators crashed while Katrina Lenk was on it. She screamed. Stagehands come running out. They hold the show, and for 45 minutes, Chris Fitzgerald and Greg Hildreth came out and did some stand-up routine. They talked.
No way.
They talked about stories about Stephen Sondheim, and they just talked to the audience for a full 45 minutes. It was insane. We got out of the theater at midnight because the show held for so long.
That's
and then
crazy.
Restarted. And it was just when she sang The Ladies Who Lunch, because obviously everyone's disappointed when Patty's not there.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's just what's going to happen. But I think everyone was just so on board with Anisha because, we were she's doing the thing. She's giving it her all, and she was so fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a feeling, when everybody in the theater is just so supportive and everyone is just, I think she got a standing ovation. It was wonderful.
Aww.
And I remember we walked out and we were like, I can't believe there was a world in which we considered not seeing the show tonight.
Yeah.
And then we were like, yeah, we're absolutely coming back to see Patty when she's back.
Of course.
But we were so grateful that we got to see such a special night.
Yeah, that rocks.
And it was before they cut the rain, so we got to see the rain. Did you see the rain?
I did not see the rain.
Oh God, they made it rain on stage in the middle of Marry Me a Little. Mm-hmm. Katrina Lenk is drenched with rain all over it was wonderful. It was so good. And then we went back and we got to see Patti LuPone do it.
Yeah,
obviously. And then Nikki Renee Daniels is a performer in the ensemble that we particularly latched onto because we're she's so good, she's so brilliant. And she announced that she was going. I think Katrina Lenk got COVID.
Yeah.
And so when Nikki went on for Bobby, I think she tweeted it or something, posted on Instagram, on for Bobby tonight. I texted her and I was like, we're going to go see Nikki do it, right? And she was like, yeah, I'll meet me at the theater.
Oh my God.
And I sprinted. I got rush tickets day of to go see Nikki as Bobby. And she was incredible. Mm. She was so good as Bobby.
Yeah.
She just she is a beautiful vocalist and she's so funny. She's so good. She could spin every joke perfectly. I think if she originated that part, it could have been her Tony Award, and she could have been a household name, but I digress. And I love that. I love that revival.
Yeah.
I love that revival so much. I think we should see it a total of 4 times and I wish I could see it again. And I think it works.
You can. It's on tour.
I'm not gonna leave the state. Come on.
That's fair.
Am I a Rockefeller? And I think the show works really well with a woman.
Yeah.
In today's day and age, I think.
And what do you mean by that?
In today, where we're allowed to put women front and center of the story, and I think that there's such a poignancy to watching a woman feel like she's running out of time for a family and a relationship in a way that, not saying that men don't feel that pressure, but there's a different kind of pressure.
Of course.
And to see a woman struggling to make that commitment and still maybe want kids, but be pushing 35 or even 40. It just hits in a different way, I think.
And like, it's one thing if it's a feeling of necessity because of the societal domesticity place, but also if it's because they genuinely want it, like that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think it hits differently. I think a lot of the reviews were quite misogynistic.
Oh, 100%.
And they weren't with the concept of a female Bobby. And a lot of the criticism that I read in the reviews at the time, I was like, I think you just don't like to see a woman playing this part. And that's your criticism boiled down in a nutshell.
Totally.
What I would have loved from this revival or any production going forward that uses this specific libretto where it's a woman Bobby, we were rooting for a bisexual Bobby.
Also that.
Because I'm forgetting, I might have been PJ, whichever boyfriend of it, you know that scene where they're sitting in Central Park and the boyfriend is like,
yeah,
I'm getting married, I'm engaged. How powerful of a scene would that be if it was Bobby and a female lover and she's saying, I'm engaged to a man because this is what I just like have to do.
Yeah.
And I think that would just bring such a different nuance to that scene, the part of Bobby. Like, why can't Bobby be a bisexual woman figuring it out? I think that would add like such a depth to
totally
the like inner turmoil she feels about settling down with someone and starting a family, because that looks completely different when you are, you know, of a sexuality that's not straight.
Yeah.
So I would have loved that.
Heard.
And I also think, yeah, like we made Bobby a girl, but we also turned 4 of the female parts into men.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't need to. So we can keep some of them as females also.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I don't know. That's my 2 cents. Mary and Elliot, listen to me.
Sure.
I know all.
I think that's lovely.
What were your thoughts on the company revival?
I loved it.
I feel like I've just been monologuing at you for so long.
I mean, listen, this is your moment. I would never take this away from you. I loved it. I enjoyed the concept. I had no problem with, believe it or not, I had no problem with the gender swapping.
Oh my God, how progressive.
I know. I'm just like really hip and with the times.
Brennan's like, I'm willing to watch a woman lead a show.
Yeah.
I'll say it right here. You can quote me
and
on this podcast.
You can say I'm brave. You can say I'm inspirational. And while that's true, that's just like not why I'm doing it, you know? Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I loved it. I thought it was really brilliant. I thought it felt like it made sense. It's like one of those things where like you see the show and you're like, if I had never known this prior, I could never imagine it starting any other way. Mm-hmm. You know?
It didn't feel like a concept of a show.
Exactly.
It felt like the show was written this way.
Correct. If I had known prior knowledge of the show, I would have said, oh, obviously this is how it always is, you know? Making it a man would be gross and stupid, you know?
Yeah.
That being said, too, it still is one of those pieces where I'm like, I would never be opposed to seeing a man do it again, because it is just still one of those really brilliant, beautiful shows, you know? In any essence, and especially now with the store, we can open any gender play to it whatsoever, you know? Yeah. And I think it would still maintain its integrity and everything that makes it what it is, you know? So I think it was a really amazing step that they took in that direction. I think we will see a long life of what this currently is now and what it can be. I think we're going to continuously, especially now, probably after the tour closes and rights are more easily attainable, I feel like people are going to be flying with this left and right, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's a really lovely age for company.
I think it's incredible. Like, they just opened it, like, I mean, like, how many different Bobbies can you think of right now that are all like men and women that you would kill to see?
Exactly.
And it could just be either or.
Yeah.
And I think that's wonderful.
I agree.
And I think that I don't know, it's opened the door for some cool things that could happen now that we've had this like huge, like Sondheim approved, Sondheim sealed production of company where it was like, yeah, let's change genders. Let's like fuck with all the keys because now we're changing voice parts.
Totally.
And like, let's do it. Yep. Why can't we do that? You know, everywhere. Like where's like the female Sweeney Todd?
Okay, let's not get crazy.
Sorry.
JK. Any new listeners turning in and like, wow, this guy's a fucking misogynist. Canceled. Unsubscribe.
But yeah, no, I mean, I was actually thinking of Gavin Creel. I'm sure that that there's a video somewhere of him singing Being Alive.
Especially,
I find it hard to believe that he's never sung that song somewhere. So I should search for that.
I think if there ever were to be like the first step of a queer male Fantasia of company, it would have been him.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe 15 years ago, if this revival happened, he would have been like a Jamie.
Yeah,
like his Not Getting Married. He would kill that song, that scene. Yeah, I mean, I was really hoping this revival would play longer and we would get to see really cool pairings of Bobby's and Joanne's, and
I feel like that could have been a really good revolving door show.
Right?
I feel like a lot of times revolving door shows are just for the sake of pulling in money, but in this instance, I would have been fine with that because I think it would have been.
I mean, rumor has it that Patty's contract was up and they were working overtime to get Christine Baranski in as Joanne. And she was asking for far too much and they couldn't settle the contract.
Yeah.
And that is part of the reason why they were like, you know what, scrap it, close it. And
just give Christine the money.
I mean, I'm sure that there are like 1,000,002 reasons that they made the choice to close the show. But apparently she was a hot contender to be a replacement Joanne, and she would have like...
That would have been incredible. That would have been incredible.
I want to see her Joanne. I mean, you know I'm going to say Donna Murphy's Joanne.
Of course.
I want to see...
God, that would be cuckoo bananas.
A Donna Murphy Joanne, or her like holding that little martini. Oh my
Better
God.
Be fake. Better be covered.
God, Bernadette. Imagine if they got Bernadette in there. I want to see a Jessie Mueller Bobby. Rumor has it she was first choice for Bobby, and that she was already committed to that play that she was doing, the Tracy Letts play. I would love to see a Lindsay Mendez Bobby.
Incredible.
Can't you? I mean, first of all,
incredible.
The voice.
Yeah.
The way that she would just like soar on those vocals. Yes. And I think,
also, like, quite frankly, like a non-traditional Broadway Bobby.
Yeah.
As a woman would be just really powerful and phenomenal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was, Katrina Lenk is absolutely drop dead fucking gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a similar thing to the Lea Michele A Funny Girl thing where, like not that beautiful people don't have relationship problems.
100%.
Because I sympathize with the beautiful community. But I don't know. Watching it, I was like, in what world does this woman not snap her fingers and get any man she wants?
Yeah.
Like she's got like, she's beautiful. She's, but I don't want to like come for someone just for being beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely not. I would
whatever
love to have that level of beauty,
But I think my top choices for Bobby would be Jessie Mueller or Lindsay Mendez. You heard it here. I would love I think like a Jessica Vosk.
Oh,
she would have been a really interesting choice.
Yeah.
I think, like look at her vocals. Mm-hmm. I think Stephanie J. Block, because I want her in everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also it's fine if they're like a little old.
Yeah.
Like
sure.
Like some of these ladies are like clearly older than 35.
For sure.
But if you're going to do company today, it makes more sense to have like a 40 to 50-year-old Bobby freaking out about her time coming to a close, because now 35 is the standard age to get married and have kids.
And thank God.
Thank God. Like 35 is the new 25. Yeah. So it in 2024, you're kind of like, 35? Why are you freaking out?
Yeah.
You got like 6 more years.
Like you're literally so fine. There's no timeline. There's no pressure.
So that is also a funny thing of watching the show through a lens of today. And you're like 35 and you're freaking out.
Granted, we're only saying that because we're rapidly approaching, but that's neither here nor there.
Rapidly? How dare you?
I said we. I said we.
I am a pillar of youth and beauty and wellness.
I didn't say we're not. We're aging so well and gracefully.
Swallow your tongue, sir.
I wish I could. Anywho. Yeah.
Or like a Raul Esparza Joanne. Oh!
Interesting.
I know.
Okay, great.
I think if I had to pick like one performer, one male diva who's my favorite of all time, it'd be Raul Esparza.
That checks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It does, right?
It does.
I think he's phenomenal. I think he's one of the better actors we have of this generation.
I would agree.
There is a video of him. Okay, this is about Sondheim, so it counts. He played Charlie and Merrily in what production? It might have been the Encore. I don't know which one, where it was. Him doing Franklin Shepherd Inc. It is my favorite of all time. It is my favorite version of that song of all time of anyone who's ever done it. Go watch it. There's like a grainy bootleg. You know, I've seen it back to front so many times.
Yeah.
He is such like an actor first.
Mm-hmm.
He's brilliant. I was praying that they'd stick him in the Sweeney revival. I would kill to see his Sweeney.
Yeah.
I want him back. Like, he hasn't been on Broadway in a minute.
Let's give him a call.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I have like walked past him on the street several times.
Oh my God. Listen, you just got to stop him and ask.
I'm always tempted to be like, I'm sorry, I just love your work.
Yeah.
But I can't do it. Maybe one day.
You're holding on to his ankle.
I'm like, please come back to Broadway. Please.
Oh my God. Okay, we're getting up there in minutes, so let's cut to the chase. Are we putting any of these songs in our book? I'm not opposed. If you can find a good cut, you know, like in terms of your Sondheim category,
yeah,
you don't need something that you can sing back to front. You need a nice, cute little cut. And...
It's another one. Just be aware.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone and their mother is singing "Not Getting Married Today."
Yeah,
it is everyone's patter song. Not saying not to do it, just saying be aware of that if you're gonna do it.
Being alive, everyone's
being alive is like
it's gonna be oversung. But once again, if you,
I mean, maybe like instead of being alive, if you need to do a Bobby song, do
"Marry Me a Little."
"Marry Me a Little,"
or what's the other one?
Because it does a similar thing, but it's not necessarily that. "Someone Is Waiting."
Someone is waiting. That is, I think I'm also just influenced because that's what Pauline sang in our Sondheim class, and that was one of the best performances I've ever seen. Like,
it's a great
song. by a peer, never mind a person.
Yeah.
But if that's one of those really good, if you approach it actor first, like really hone in on those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
do it.
It's a great song.
Oh my God! I should say also, I haven't advertised this at all yet. October 30th, y'all, you can come see me, friend of the pod, Pauline Parkhurst. I don't think anyone else from the pod thus far perform at a little Sondheim concert at 54 Below.
Oh my God.
I think it's at 7:30 p.m.
You didn't tell me.
We just got the date last week, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to attend, but at this point in time, it's looking like I will be good to go.
What are you singing? Or is that not public information yet?
I don't think I'll share it because I think it'll be a fun surprise, but I'll obviously tell you. But yeah,
I'll know, but you won't.
Yeah.
Ha, ha, ha.
Once there's like ticketing link that is sent to me, I will put it out there on social. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, if you want to have a nice little evening of Sondheim with some really talented people, come check us out there. But anyway,
if you really want to come, Brennan will buy your ticket and your drink minimum.
That is not true. You know, I will smile at you during the show though, for sure.
Come on, it's true.
Girl, I don't. I can't do that. I wish I could. I'll share a discount link as soon as I get one. But that's yeah. Anywho,
oh my God, or like a Beth Level Joanne or a Carolee Carmelo Joanne. Sorry, y'all, I'm stuck on this. Oh
yeah.
Okay.
So to answer the previous question, are we putting these songs in our book? Sure. Be smart about it.
I don't know. Up to you.
Yeah. If you have any questions, let us know.
Are you putting in your book? I don't know. Are you?
I don't know. Did you?
You did.
Do you have a printer? I don't know.
You know, like at the age of like 14 was Being Alive my go-to audition song? Yeah. Was it a smart choice? No. But I do it again? Yeah.
I love that for you.
What do you want from me?
Okay.
What do you want from me?
Folks, as always, if there's a certain show you want us to talk about, you can let us know by joining us over on Patreon. All of our principal tier Patreon members get to choose what we're chatting about. So if there's something you're dying to hear, come let us know on there. As always, folks, you can find us on most social media platforms at BA2Broadway. You can find me at Brennan Stefanik.
You can find me if you go to at Raul Esparza, go to his follower list, type in at DSauls. I'll be the biggest one there.
There's also probably 7 other fan accounts that follow that are run by Danny. Those names are unknown to me, but I'll get to the bottom of it.
Shut up, you.
Am I wrong? Are you going to tell me that I'm wrong?
I have no fan accounts.
Yeah, I'll buy it when I see it officially.
The inside of my mind is all the fan accounts I need.
That's true. Okay, folks. Until next week. Bye. From BA to Broadway is created, produced, and edited by Brennan Stefanik, music by Dylan Kaufman, and cover art by Jordan Vongsithi.